Well, we've got the official date and time, but we don't yet know the full story for when the new Warbond and update drops, which of course has the community all over the place, ranging from ecstatic to concerned. I mean, we haven't seen a Warbond hit the "we're so back, it's so over" roller coaster quite like Redacted Regiment, and all of this with it not even being in-game, at least not yet. If you want to help support the channel, you know what to do as we dive into everything happening inside Helldivers. So, currently inside the Galactic map, there's basically nothing organized going on, with the bulk of the 50,000-ish divers logged on kind of hitting the bugs, with Boar Rock and its double whammy of democracy haters the flavor of today, with both the Predator strain and Dragon Roaches terrorizing the rock. Outside of there, the Helldivers are kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for Thursday the 22nd, which we're going to dive into quite a bit in just a moment. Now, like so many of you out there that's been diving to build and fuel the Star of Peace, I was expecting something tasty to show up in game when our final vote to nuke Penta into a black hole arrived. That day, I was in orbit on Penta, ready to record the event, but was whisked away back to Super Earth when the caution sign started to flash in game, only to watch another basic PNG moment as the DSS sent out some signal waves, made a few sound effects, drew a line on the Galactic map to Penta, and erased it, leaving us with another missed opportunity for a massive in-game lore-building moment. Overall, it was, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just going to stop and call a spade a spade. I mean, look at this that now stands in place of Penta. I took 5 seconds and went to Google and typed in black hole PNG, and the first option that popped up looks eerily similar to what we have in game, with the only tiny difference is that the one in game has the faint hint of a rotating gas ring around it. I was hopeful that after the last event that we saw like this, when the Meridia wormhole collided with Angel's Venture, this time we would instead be getting something more beefy in terms of the build-up and wait when this new event happened, especially since the Arrowhead art team is almost always on point, right? I mean, even when you take a look at this, just browse the Warbonds for yourself, the character models here look crisp and well put together. But if I'm being brutally honest, this test fire on Penta we just witnessed looked even more basic to me, and I would guess the rest of the community, than what we saw when Meridia and Angel's Venture collided. And what's even more shocking to me is the fact that the Helldivers community nails this creative side. And if Arrowhead isn't wanting to invest any time, effort, or money into these major galaxy in-game affecting events, maybe they could just reach out to one of the many talented community groups out there and instead give them the opportunity to do so. I mean, hell, we just saw Plot Coalition reach nearly 1 million views with their Helldivers movie, along with plenty of other talented community members that would jump at the opportunity to create a Helldivers short, you know, maybe from the bridge of the DSS as it fired on Penta, or the build-up to the firing, and from the perspective of someone on Super Earth, or maybe just a ship in orbit somewhere close to Penta. I know, maybe I'm grasping at straws here, but there's a real need to make these events more substantial, along with tons of talent in the community who could do it. I don't know, to me it just seems like a no-brainer. Drop me a comment along with your feelings about what we just saw on the Galactic map involving the destruction of Penta, along with your suggestions for who in the Helldiver community would be awesome at creating these short animations for Arrowhead, because we really need this to happen. I know we've got the Stroman news broadcast, and yeah, they're good, but a 45-second fully animated cutscene with divers scrambling to get off Penta, then the firing and possibly the aftermath as the DSS was disabled would make for cinematic bliss. Moving along, and since we last talked, Arrowhead has put the community back on track with their latest announcement concerning the previously and indefinitely delayed Redacted Regiment Warbond, which actually reads, "We were able to resolve the issue with Redacted Regiment, and it will soon be available for release. We will have a patch incoming Thursday, January 22nd at 11 a.m. CET, which is actually in brackets here, 5 a.m. my time." Why do we have to make it so early? With Redacted Regiment going live at 2 p.m. CET, which is 8 a.m. for me, Eastern Standard Time, also on the 22nd. And instantly, the flood of comments and emotions started hitting the social channels, along with questions about the severity of the issue in comparison to what felt like a very short turnaround, a point GamesRadar picked up on. After a short delay, Helldiver 2's stealthy Redacted Regiment Warbond finally sneaks in-game this week as Arrowhead confirms, quote, "We were able to resolve the issue, holding it back." Days after the stealth-focused Redacted Regiment Warbond was announced, Arrowhead confirmed that it would have to delay the Warbond going out to Super Earth's brave Helldivers due to a, quote, "key issue," which sounds like a code for those bug, robot, or squid freaks sabotaging something behind the scenes. But thanks to the combined efforts of Super Earth's government and the actual game developers behind Helldivers 2, the Redacted Regiment Warbond has a new release date. Everything we already knew. When the Warbond releases this Thursday, you'll be able to pick it up for the usual amount of 1,000 Helldiver 2 super credits, and depending on how well the stealth-focused weapons are implemented, it could see itself making its way up the Helldivers 2 Warbond tier list very quickly and quietly. Okay there, GamesRadar. I'm gonna need to test out Redacted Regiment along with the updates and changes they made not only to the Warbond, but to the game itself before I start waving around banners about how it's making its way up the Warbond tier list. However, the question that I saw so many of you ask once this announcement was made was, how major was that issue? Because Arrowhead doesn't normally move this fast with fixes, which in the eyes of many in the community meant it couldn't have been that severe of an issue, right? Now the question here is actually broken into two pieces when it comes to Thursday and Redacted Regiment. Question number one is, was Arrowhead finally convinced by the community post and evidence showing them that suppressed weapons were completely ineffective, and at this point they've decided to make them more impactful? And or the question number two is, what was done to the rest of the game surrounding stealth and suppressed weapons, kind of like what they did to the Coyote? Because yeah, I've seen your comments like this one, Arrowhead to the players, quote, "We hear you, so we've decided to make all unsuppressed weapons 300% louder with a 300% increased detection range, therefore making suppressed weapons function like normal sound profiles we have now by making everything else in the game so damn loud a bot could hear you across the map even while they were under attack from the vaunted Eagle Storm." Personally, although it's highly sensationalized, I'm not putting much faith in option 2 and them making everything 300% louder. Although we've seen Arrowhead do some crazy and very counter-player actions in the past, and as Johan recently said, the studio does make some odd design choices and normally succeeds with them only about 50% of the time, which is why we're so over is kind of the meme right now within Arrowhead and Helldivers. So the hope is, along with whatever unfolds with the stealth and suppressors with Redacted Regiment, we also get a massive patch to combo alongside it with some much needed fixes and improvements. Now, one thing I have to give props to Arrowhead for is that after the shit show of Into the Untested and the abhorrent performance and state of the game that was in that patch, from then to now, the game actually performs miles better. Now that could be down to me using a high performance SSD and finally having the slim branch to use and play on. It could be down to them fiddling with things in the background. All I know is that my game was nearly unplayable with crashes, super fixes, sound drops, and massive frame drops, and now it's not so bad. However, let's assume for a minute, best case scenario here, that we do get a full stealth and suppressor overhaul along with this fancy new gear and of course the new weapons to use. None of this is going to matter unless Arrowhead can do something about the spawns, i.e. give us more shit to shoot at. I've been with Helldiver since the early days, and I remember having a lot more enemies when compared to the current game we have. I was there for those crazy Predator strain spawn days. I was there for the first week on Meridia and the Shriekers coming out of the ground at Extract. I was there for the more recent rapid acquisition missions, and of course, I was even there for the crazy automaton evacuate scientist missions that are actually no longer in the game. Point is, we used to have wave after wave, spawn after spawn, patrols and drops to shoot at, and I'm consistently finding myself these days kind of wandering around looking for something to blast while planetside. I guess this is kind of a roundabout way to get to the point that I'm trying to make, and it's my final topic here. I'm going to be watching our next patch update this Thursday with intensity, not only for any unannounced or stealth changes, but also in the hopes that something changes dramatically with the enemy counts, because at this rate, you won't need suppressors or suppressed weapons or any of the fancy stealth gear due to there being so few enemies you might actually alert. Anyways, here's where you get to sound off about Redacted Regiment. What do you expect in the update and the rest of it? Drop a comment and let's get a discussion going. Remember to hit subscribe and to ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Thank you to all of my awesome and hardcore channel members, for without your support, all of this gets that little bit harder to maintain. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.